So what's up, everybody? Welcome to We Need to Talk. This channel is dedicated to uncovering how to reduce unnecessary suffering in life and find fulfillment or meaning in life, specifically for adolescents, young adults. And I'm joined here today. Well, first of all, my name's Henry, the host of this channel, and I'm joined here today with Matthijs. Matthijs, what's up? Do you want to shortly introduce yourself?
Thanks, Henry. I'm glad to be here. It's great fun that you really took away with your plan of making a podcast, and it's great fun to do this with you and see we'll see how it goes. And so yes, I'm Matthijs. I'm becoming a friend of Henry via Robert Praas, a common friend of ours. And well, during Corona times, we have been zooming and talking about life, and we just sometimes just felt like that 5 minutes passed when actually two hours passed. Was brilliant. And I'm still studying my last year in Rotterdam, and a member of Navigators student fraternity, and doing a little bit of voluntary work there, leadership there, and so I'm really into this to see where this goes, and how we can discuss meaning of life from different backgrounds.
Yeah, awesome. We've talked twice actually only. And I have to say, the second conversation we had, I think in the beginning of September, was one of the most insightful conversations I've had in a long time. Seriously, I wrote it down in my journal afterwards. I still have the journal entry and I learned a lot. So I think the biggest overlap that Matthijs and I have is an interest in Christianity, I would say. I mean, Matthijs is a lot more well-versed. He's more knowledgeable in what Christianity entails than me. So I just sort of test ideas and he sort of gives me feedback and we discuss them. So, but anyway, we're going to try and focus on how to find meaning in life, especially for young people nowadays or for ourselves. Matthijs, how do you find fulfillment or meaning? Do you have any ideas?
So of course I have ideas about this, and what I find special is that in discussing this topic you find a lot of commonalities about finding meaning in life, which is having a goal which is not selfish, not just focusing on what you want to do yourself, so really countercultural to materialistic, hedonistic ideas from the 21st century. And there are different ways in how people fill in this gap to find fulfillment. And from my personal belief and background, this has a lot to do with God and with his idea about humanity, about the person of Jesus Christ as well. Because what I see is that people long for acceptance, peace within themselves, that they belong, that they are accepted, and that what they do matters. I think that is a lot, that you just know what I did today, what I'm going to do tomorrow. It makes a difference. That's meaning in life. And I find fulfillment in finding a goal, finding goals, for example, how to benefit people around me, or how to understand how the creator of the heavens and the earth designed the humans to live. Try to know that and live it out, and try to get better in it every day, knowing that I will fail, but that's not a big deal. That's about it, I think. And
awesome.
What I found from a first discussion was that which was with extraordinary life.
Mm-hmm.
So the commonality there was everyone has this idea about, okay, I want to reduce own comfort for the comfort of others, for example. All right.
What do you mean, like seek discomfort?
No, when we're like, okay, money, time, energy, career, I can reduce it reduce my own benefit for the benefit of others by sharing, finding a job that has direct impact, etc. That was then meaning of life. But that's all about doing. I think meaning of life has also a lot to do about identity. Who am I? And do I have peace with who I am? And am I peaceful? Yeah.
That's super, super great way to start. I actually need to get a pen and paper just to like take notes. So
Oh.
we know where we're going, because you said a lot of things there. I really like that idea of that. It's not just about what you're living out or how you're conducting yourself, but this need for identity and to belong. Yeah. And if we tie that in, I mean, do you understand where that comes from? That like deep, because I've thought about this a bit, that people have this need for security, need for belonging, identity, and it's such a deep need. It's so fundamental that do you know where it comes from or why we have that?
I think from it is so complex, the human psyche, to it's so complex, and our knowledge about it is so limited at the moment that it's really hard to say something with certainty about it. Now you can make guesses, and I feel like, I think like, purely from a perspective of, okay, you need to have this comfort of identity before you can thrive in society and survive, etc. To touch on something like evolution, which you also use to try to explain the human beings. But also think like, okay, perhaps we are designed with kind of a gap in ourselves and our souls, which we need to fill. This was put there with a purpose that, okay, I want to belong, I need to find identity, and you're going to look for that. And I think you can find it partially in, okay, I'm successful, I'm being accepted by my peers, partially. But I would also say perhaps there's really something about the divine in there. That if you find that, okay, there I have a place, I have a soul, which was created by something out of this world, and I can be accepted by him, then I find true identity in that. But again, this is speculating a bit on this question, because it's really hard to understand the human psyche at that core level.
I mean, this whole channel's speculations essentially. So we were talking about things we just cannot be certain of, like very metaphysical questions. So, but that's, you touched upon something that this conundrum, this difficult question of, I mean, you can reduce the human, everything within the human, to just a survival purpose, that humans have a need for identity in order to be included in the social group, and then they're included, they can trade resources, they can share, they can protect one another, they can divide labor, so the division of labor, and they thrive together. And that identity, that need for identity or for a sense of belonging, was created as a motivator to be included in the group, because people very often get an identity from how others perceive them, for example. And that's just like, you could reduce it to say that's just an instinct to survive, to be included in a group. But that's too reductionist. That's, I think, oversimplifying it and does not explain it all. And like what you touched upon, that there is potentially something beyond mere survival and evolution that creates this urge, this need for an identity.
Yeah, I tend to agree that we can, to some extent, explain a lot of human behavior from a viewpoint of, okay, let's assume that humans are just, if we assume that humans are just like higher developed animals, then we need to explain everything from an evolutionist point. But then before you start explaining, you already know where you're going, because you say from the beginning, okay, let's assume we are just higher, we are just more intelligent than other ape types, but we are formed by survival of the fittest. So we have to explain everything by survival of the fittest. But then you kind of come into a kind of circle. If you say, okay, I'm going to explain it from survival of the fittest, then you might find a way. Of course, I mean, you could just say, human species need to be flexible. So in your life, you shouldn't only be driven by instincts, but how you behave and who you are should be flexible to your surroundings. So you can't put this in the instinct, because what happens if an animal gets into a situation in which everything is strange, but they can't adapt, and humans can adapt much better. Okay, then you have an explanation, but it's too, it's quite easy.
That's, yeah, like there's a process by which the instinct gets updated to resonate with the environment that it's in. Like, if humans, I mean, evolution's like it's a slow process of adapting. So our instincts now, which we have now, were instincts that were successful for, I mean, thousands and thousands of years. And like you say, there must be a process, though, by which the genome absorbs the environment as the environment changes and adapts itself to the environment, and then the instinct will be updated, like it'll upgrade itself, sort of.
Oh, and then you get something like an urge for identity, which you're not given by birth, but which you need to find, because you need to find your place in this world. And especially when you get away from your parents, you need to find this position. Who am I? Who do I want to be? Yeah, and what I think is that, what I see, what I know actually, is that having your identity based on your performance and what other people think about you is quite dangerous in a way, or is not weak, but it is prone. Because what if people's opinions change? What if you're not successful anymore? If your identity is connected to that, then your identity gets damaged. So in the sense, and perhaps we can come to that later, I think having an identity which is independent from your surroundings or your performance or what other people think about you is much stronger and safer. But
yes, because so what you're saying is it's dangerous to have an identity derived from the opinions of the people around you, because your well-being, your fulfillment, your sense of your positive emotions are influenced by how you are identified. And if that identity is volatile and can shift, and
yeah,
then it's just suboptimal. It's very fluctuating, and it's it could be better, let's say. And I think this is pretty cool, because if you say you want to, your identity, it would be optimal or better, an improved version, if your identity is based on something that is internal, or your identity is derived from an internal source of something. Now,
or a stable source which is not going to change. Yeah.
Okay, but what would a stable source be other than something within you?
So, something outside of you which is not going to change. So opinions of other people, which might be the most safe, are the opinions of your parents, for example, because that's the strongest thing you have. I just know that my parents will keep on loving me and accepting me whatever happens. Friends might change, girlfriends might change, even wives, their opinions might change. Yeah, but parents, I don't think so. But apart from that, and that's why I think that Christianity has been so successful on this point and been such an amazing fix or life hack on this subject of identity, is that the notion of the Christian God is not changing. It's a notion of someone who was the same before the heavens and the earth existed and now. So his opinion is not going to change. And there are all kinds of difficult theological subjects about that God had knew his people already before time began. He knew me and you. And if he says, okay, Matthijs, I'm accepting you as a beloved son, and I'm going to accept you into my heavenly family, then that's not going to change. So if you think I suck in this podcast, or other people think I did a terrible job or don't agree with me, then this line with the creators is not changing. So if that is stable, that the identity is can be fixed.
Dude, yes.
What?
Dude, that's so awesome. Because when you said that, something clicked within me. You said there's something objective from which you should derive your identity, something that is permanently stable and is beyond you. It exists without you, and it will always exist. It's like omnipresent, kind of. And that's super interesting because that indicates, I mean, this is where you and I probably have a bit different perspectives, because we talked that we would like to incorporate the teachings of the Bible with logic and skepticism. So, and I tend to, at the moment, still look at the Bible as something which has, amongst other things, survival utility. So if you understand and follow the stories in the Bible, the psychological explanations, then your well-being, your level of well-being jumps up. And when you say that you should derive your identity from God, what jumped to my mind was you are connecting yourself with an objective structure of reality which governs the world, and that is effective and gives you survival utility because it is objective and it exists without you, and it is the fundamental structure of reality, and there is nothing more powerful, or it explains everything. That's what it is. Do you kind of understand what I mean?
So I really understand it, because and what I see, what you are saying, a lot of people are saying, is okay. Again, okay, we have something which works for humans. Okay, that there's something in this, on the subject of having an stable identity and belonging, and not being so volatile, and don't be so disturbed about opinions of other people, or your own performance, because you have some stable fundament. Okay, and this comes for Christians from their belief in God and in Christ, and being accepted in the heavenly family. Okay, so it must have some survival meaning, and that's why it exists. But what I think is, what we're doing then is saying, okay, a priori from the beginning, we say, okay, humans are animals, and we should explain everything from survival utility. So everything that works must have some survival utility, and that's why it exists. What I try to say then is, okay, no, we are now here, we observe reality, we find out things about ourselves, that we have some identity gap to fill. We see that this is filled by connecting with the divine. So the divine is probably real, because this experience is so strong. It's probably real. And instead of saying, okay, this works, so it must just have some kind of survival utility, and it came somewhere 4,000 years ago, people got some God knowledge or something like that. It just is a byproduct of evolution. I would not say that.
Yeah. So I actually agree with you. So what you're saying is, I mean, what the downside of reducing humans to simply a congregation of animals who want to survive is that, well, cool for the species, but what's in it for me? You know, like, the species survives and continues to exist if I act according to the principles of God. But like, why? I mean, where is the benefit for me? And the thing is, like you said, if you act out the principles of the Bible, your lifetime experience is cool. Like, it's awesome. It's actually in itself worth living then, because the experience of it is valuable.
I think in a way, yes. In another way, there is a lot about Christianity which has absolutely no survival value. Especially, it has negative survival value. So, for example, there are countries in the world where Christianity is forbidden and you can be persecuted, and other groups that hate Christians, they are free to do with Christians whatever they like. So there are countries in which North Korea, Iran, other countries in the world in which they are persecuted. So being a Christian has absolutely no survival value. A lot of Christians die because of their faith, but what they hold on to, what they cling on to, is that they are promised a afterlife. So the survival thing is not can't be explained then from, okay, my survival here or the survival of my children, but I cling on to survival in the afterlife, and that's why I hold on to this
Yes,
belief.
in it doesn't. This is where it gets tricky. Maybe it doesn't increase the survival rate of the individual human, but it increases the survival rate of the species, because these I don't know if you can use the word martyr, somebody who dies for
Yeah.
their belief. Maybe they pass away, but then somebody around them, let's say I'm not sure if let's say North Korea, if they forbid Christianity or whatever, but let's say in a hypothetical country where Christianity is forbidden, this person acts out. I don't want to stamp it as Christian behavior, but as some special behavior. This person acts out and then is murdered, is executed for being called a Christian, let's say. Now, somebody else in the country sees this behavior, and this behavior is special. It is very special, and it touches them. And then later on, this person starts a revolution that overthrows let's sort of say there was a dictatorship which prohibited Christianity, overthrows it, and then a new governmental, let's say, structure is built that is founded on Christian values, and then the human species of that group survives, but it took the death of one person to cause that survival, that story of like death, the death of the state and the rebirth to something better.
I think you're really getting romantic now, Henry, with the hypothetical state and the death of one person for the benefit of others, which is brilliant. But I'm not sure about the survival benefit of Christianity, to be honest. I'm not sure if it has that much to do with it. I think you can see correlations also in demographics about Christians and having, on average, higher altruistic behavior, probably. Uh, People or churches doing also things for the common good. But I think if you reduce Christianity to that, how they influence society on a horizontal level, I think you really reduce to something much smaller than it is about. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there's the classic example of, and I don't really want to sort of condone that example, but that people might say, well, the countries with the highest standard of living are nations founded upon Christian values, in comparison to countries with lower levels of standard of living or well-being, are founded on other, let's say, religious belief systems. People might gravitate to that, but I don't know enough to, because there are so many other variables that are influencing like the standard level of well-being or whatever. So I mean, I think it's too dangerous to really say that.
No, I'd not say that. I'd
Mhm.
not say that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't take Christianity too much into some kind of equation with politics and states and socioeconomic well-being. I'd not bring it in over there.
Yeah. Let's not go there.
That's too much. That's too much honor.
Okay, but I'd like to. There is one kind of type of yes. So I was reading this book that I told you, that the Brothers Karamazov, and in the book, there's one character who says there are situations in life where you sort of you want to react to somebody your emotions want to react to somebody in an aggressive, hostile way. If somebody hurts you, for example, you want to react to them. And this person in the book says that you have the choice, you always have the choice in life to either react in an aggressive, like vindictive way, or you have the choice to react in a humble, loving, forgiving way. And he says, always choose the humble and forgiving way. That's a profound statement, because life is extremely complex. There's very few things we can be certain of. But if this person says always react in a humble, living way, that's super interesting. And
Yeah.
I see survival benefit in that in very, very basic way. And I don't want to continue too much with the survival thing, but the core problem of humans is that we suffer, I think. It's like you can't get any deeper than that. And the reason humans suffer is because they are faced with problems and like their limitations. They're essentially problems. You can look at them like problems. And you reduce suffering by solving problems. Now, there are different strategies to solve problems. And the best way is to communicate with each other, show understanding, accepting each other. You do not solve problems by insulting each other, being aggressive towards each other. That's just like psychologically wise, you don't solve problems by attacking each other. And that's why I see there is benefit in being accepting and understanding and forgiving of each other, because that's how you solve humanity's greatest problems.
Yeah, so I'd say indeed, to perhaps to round off this subject, to say like, okay, definitely in the whole bunch of ideas and lessons from Christianity, from the Bible, from Jesus, there are a lot of things that benefit society in a horizontal way or benefit the species. So let's say that's 60-70% of the lessons. I don't know, just put a number on it. Definitely. Yeah. And that, then still there's also a lot which I think does not have this direct influence on the society in a beneficial way. It's more about personal spiritual stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And another thing from this book, which I'd like to, I mean, you mentioned it already, is there's something about behaving kind, generously, forgivingly, that makes the opinions of other people irrelevant.
Mm.
And you can kind of feel that. Like, I realized it recently, actually. There was some situation where I talked to somebody, and I think I was very kind. I tried to be kind to them, or show some sort of generosity and just kindness. And usually I'm somebody who does actually dwell on how people judge me, and I do kind of care how others judge me. But for one of the first times in my life, I could tell myself very easily, it doesn't matter what this person thinks, because you acted nobly, you acted correctly, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I agree. There are situations in which if you just know that you were right, not right in a way of in a discussion way, I was right, but just right in what did I do? Was I correct? Was I just? That if you are really that convinced, then the other opinion drops a lot. And I think that's has really a lot to do with confidence, of course, in your own set of beliefs about right and wrong. Definitely. And on the other hand, it's always a little bit, well, the danger about is that you can get in some kind of conflict between, okay, am I going to be in a way arrogant about, okay, I know what's right and wrong, your opinion doesn't matter anymore, or another way that you find the opinions of other people too important, so that such that you get really inconfident about your own prior beliefs about what's right and what's wrong. This is a little a bit of a battle, and I think we will go on in life.
That battle is essentially one of I mean one of the reasons why life is so difficult is because it's a permanent balancing act between two extremes, and there's no guide to know exactly where to be. You just kind of have to feel it. You're
So
always bouncing, oscillating between extremes, and both extremes aren't good. Like the sweet spot is somewhere in between them. Where it is, we don't know, but it's not at the extremes.
I agree. So in your example, how was it like? Was it like, okay, did you feel like kind of arrogance or pride about, I know this is good and right and wrong, you don't know, you are less enlightened as me, as I am, so I don't care about you? Was it a bit like that, or was it
No,
about,
it definitely wasn't like that. It was
okay,
I
okay,
came back home and I was dwelling on what had happened. I thought, well, what if this, I think it was a woman, I forgot what I really should have remembered for what happened. It was I was sitting at home and I was thinking, oh, I wonder what she thought about me, whether she thought that was weird what I did. And then I reflected on it, and I felt this sense of equanimity, this calmness within me that actually just told myself, like, it's okay, it doesn't matter what she thought, because you couldn't have. I felt like it was just correct what I had done, and it wasn't this arrogance, like you were right, like her opinion is wrong, like you were the righteous one. No, it was just this sense of I was able to let go of the thoughts, and not hold on to it and sort of let it burden me or occupy my thoughts.
yeah,
That's
that's
what it was.
brilliant if it can be like that. Yeah.
Cool.